walked through sunshine, we stood in rain. We've danced in joy and we've wept through pain. Through every valley, through every climb, a love eternal stands the test of time. Faith, fun, and forever love, built on grace sent from above. Through storms that shake, through skies that clear, His hand has held us year by year.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? It's good to be here on this Magic Monday for another Marriage Encounters with Bill and Michelle through faith, fun, and forever love. And we are thrilled that you are with us on today.
Woo!
The sun is shining. I went
Thank
out.
God.
Yeah, I grabbed about a handful of sunshine and smeared it on my face. You know how that is. That just changes your whole perspective. So we are ready to rock and roll on the day with another Marriage Encounters. And this is the March edition. We are in March Madness as we speak.
No, they're playing basketball.
They're playing
Basket. Okay, never mind. We'll get.
I'm just gonna start popping and locking.
We're gonna get shut off.
Yeah.
So today we are here, and this is your first time joining us. Welcome to Marriage Encounters. As he said, he's Bill. I'm Michelle. We are here for real conversations with real couples, so that we can, help you overcome.
Right.
Be encouraged.
Right. And that doesn't mean that we are experts at anything, but we have over 3 decades.
That makes us sound old.
We have over 3 decades. We are heading into decade number 4. We're about halfway there. So that means that we don't know everything, but doggone it, we know something.
We figured out 1 or 2 things.
1 or 2 things. And through those decades, no hits, no runs, no errors. I haven't had to sleep in the basement, sleep in another room, none of that stuff. Okay, no drunken silliness, none of that stuff. All right, no creeping and cheating, none of that stuff. So that means that we are not experts, but doggone, you might want to pay attention.
Maybe a little bit.
Just a little bit, because that means that we might not have done everything right, but we done more than a fair share of things right. All right, that's why we're here. We're here to help. Last week we kicked off our March theme on communication under construction, not just what comes out your mouth, but the expression that you give it in, and how your subtle nuances help communicate or take away from your communication. And so we want to continue to build on that today, because at the end of the day, communication is constantly under construction. It's like the roads on Kellogg here in Wichita. It's always under construction. There is never a time where there's not some demolition and some replacement happening. And that's how it should be in your communication.
True.
Yeah.
I've lived here 35 years, and there's always been
something. Well, in your marriage, your communication is always under construction, which means that some things have aged out. And so you need to cut them out and replace with something new. But as long as it's under construction, you're still going forward. And that's what we're excited about.
Yeah. So we talked about how we speak, and he kind of referred to that. What is it? What are you saying? Knowing that the words that we say are the smallest part of our communication. It really is our body language. It's our looks. It's all of those things that we do. As women, we know that we cannot say anything. It's the looks. It's you're in the room, but you ain't really in the room. And so how are we communicating with our spouse what it is that we want? Because here's the real deal. We cannot be silent, and we can't be internal and expect them to just by osmosis figure out what they did wrong, because they don't really think they did anything wrong.
Right. And we can't dominate the conversation to the point where nobody gets a word in edgewise, and that creates more friction. Because You know, it's funny. It's funny. I'm spewing out words right now, and they just float on air. But isn't it amazing? The words are some of the heaviest things that you can ever carry.
Yeah.
Words have sunk battleships. Words have broken up marriages. Words have created and destroyed buildings over the span of time, right? Words have put people, innocent people, in jail. You know the story of, oh my God, Joseph,
Oh,
right?
it's like, where are we going here?
Now, Joseph, you know, Potiphar's wife said, "Oh, he touched me," and I ain't talking about he touched me. I ain't talking about that kind of touch.
Not Jesus.
No, not Jesus touch. Said he touched me, and so he spent. When you do the calculations, he spent almost 14 years in prison
On a lie.
behind that, on a lie. You gonna tell me that word didn't carry weight? Shoot.
And I think if we think about it, you know, we used to, as little kids, we used to say, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, which is so not true. Because sometimes you would rather just, you know, like pop me upside the head and then we'd be over, not you, but just in general. And then it would be over. But words are those things that reverberate in our mind and in our heart and in, you know, we're going to sleep and you can still hear that thing. You can still hear that conversation. You're replaying the conversation over and over and over and over, especially if it was, you know, a bad conversation or it went the wrong way, or, you know, maybe you said something that you didn't really mean to say, or you didn't say the stuff that you should have said because instead of, you know, defending yourself or moving, not defending, because we don't get into those spaces. We have conversations, so we don't have to defend. But if we get into a space where we are at a place where we need to have a spirited conversation that is two-sided, and we don't speak up for ourselves and we don't give our part, we play that day in, day out, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks later, because there was something that we should have said that we didn't. And so let's just, you know, as we're talking about these harder conversations, as we're talking about how we communicate, it's just as important how we say what we're saying, how we are communicating our thoughts, but it's also important on the other side that we are being listened to.
Because remember, we're talking about communication under construction, not talking under construction. And if it's communication under construction, then that means that we are talking and listening, because it takes both of those pieces to make the equation communication.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not just talking, but you're listening, and you're listening for understanding. And in listening for understanding, sometimes you have to ask clarification questions.
Yeah.
What did you mean?
But not with that
but
face.
not with that face. What you say? Not with that face either.
Not with that face.
But you have to ask those kind of questions like, okay, I don't understand. What do you mean when you say this? Right? Because why? Because you want the communication lines to be crystal clear in muddy water. And that's challenging.
And sometimes it's, you know, it's even having that conversation of, okay, so this is what I heard. Is that what you were really saying? Because then it gives that person the ability to clarify your thoughts, because they don't have an ideal of, you know, like what you were thinking, and you can be way off, or you can be totally right and you're like spot on.
Or it gives you the chance to change some stuff up.
Yeah,
before
like,
you get in trouble.
yeah,
No, that wasn't what I was
exactly
saying.
what
I really meant to say was that your earlobes are like the doves, the petals on a rose in the springtime.
We were sharing Song of Solomon.
Right.
Yeah.
So
now let's be honest with each other. If we're really thinking about this, and we're really thinking about how because this week is about listen. Okay, so we talked about speak. No, it's right there.
I know, but when you show it, I think it's over there.
I don't know. Anyway, we don't know. I'm just pointing at the things that are on the side. Anyway, the number one was speak. Today we're talking about listen. So a couple of things to think about. Many times we think that we have communication problems, and it may not necessarily be that we don't communicate. It may be that we don't listen.
Ooh, that's good stuff. Because plenty of couples are talking all the time. You know, in the Bible, there were the Jebusites, there were the Girgashites, there were the Hivites, there were the Letites, and now we have the Jacobites. I know you can't find them in scripture, but trust me, Jacobites are alive and well. Jacobites are constantly yakking and never listening. Jacobites. All right.
So I think there's also this piece in which I can hear you and not really be listening.
True.
Because, case in point, last night I was talking. We were having our meeting, and I was talking, and you were staring at the TV. And then I stopped talking, and I just started staring at you for a really long time. And you didn't even notice because you was so watching TV.
Do I remember that happening?
You don't, because you weren't paying attention. So it's that kind of thing that sometimes we can say, oh, but our attention is on something else. And we didn't really, truly listen to what was being said. We heard it, but we didn't really listen. And so that's really what we want to look at today. It's how do we really begin to listen? Not just give it ear service, not just give it air service, but to truly listen, boom, and then respond, not just listen to respond.
Well, yeah. And just to add, I mean, my wife is fairly accurate in her statement earlier. She's fairly accurate. Okay. But I mean, you get distracted so easily. You know what I'm saying? Because something catches your attention and then your focus shifts from here to there. And you're right. I mean, those are those absent spaces. You're in the room, but you're not hearing because your focus and attention has shifted. And that's what happens many times in relationships, you know. And so oftentimes you're responding, but you really need to ask yourself a question. What does a real response look like? What does, I mean, how can I prove, not to myself, but to my spouse, that I am listening intently and I am understanding the words that are coming out of her or his mouth? How do you prove that? Well, there's several ways you can prove that: by looking at them, by acknowledging what they say, by giving feedback on what they said. Not only does that help them, but it helps you to grasp the conversation also. So you're winning on both sides. Someone's talking, and instead of listening or hearing them, you're already preparing your comeback, right? You're already, back in the day, it's a long time ago. I'm just all over the place today, but back in the day, some fellas had a sandwich called a comeback sandwich.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Man, I mean, and especially it's a fish sandwich with some cheese and lettuce about that thick. And I mean, it was called the comeback sandwich, not literally.
And they had this sauce on there.
Right. And then they had what they call them, fries.
Shabazz fries.
Shabazz fries?
It was a Muslim place.
Bruh, you ain't lived till you had some Shabazz fries, man. Anyway, now they heart attack in a plate. Let's be clear on that. Okay.
Right. You definitely have to go work out. It has to be a meal at the middle of the day so you can work out the rest of the afternoon.
But that sandwich would make you come back. And so my point is, sometimes when you say you're listening, you're really preparing for your comeback statement. And you're preparing to defend yourself, or you're trying to explain why your point of view is right. All of those are communication detractors, because now you're not focused on listening to what your spouse is saying. You're focused on what you think you need to say next.
And when we are in those situations, where I don't feel heard, and if I don't feel heard on a regular enough basis, then I just stop talking. I will not participate. And so, you know, the other person can really feel devalued. Why am I talking? Why am I, you're not listening. What's the point? And so, if communication, and we know that communication is one of the things that breaks people up. We know that that's it's a real big factor. And so how do we make sure that we slow down? I don't even remember what cartoon it was on, but it was like, slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the moment last. So there's a thing that we don't know. My cousin passed away this past weekend. Was totally unexpected, totally did not have, it was not on my bingo card for last weekend. Or anybody else's. And we are in such a rush to do things and to be places, and we're so distracted and everything is going on. But take the moments to just slow down.
Right.
Slow down, enjoy the moments. We were out of town this weekend, and we decided, Sunday, we could have rushed back and we could have got back in time for church. But we decided, no, we rush all the time. How about we just take our time, get up when we get up. We leisurely walk down the street to the we walked down the street and grabbed some breakfast and walked back. It was a very beautiful morning. And so I just encourage you to slow down. Take the real time that you need, the moments that you need to really check in with each other, see what's going on. All right. So when we think about listening and we think about what needs to happen, good listening requires something most of us struggle with, and that is really, really tuning in, being focused on that person. Sometimes that means resisting the urge to fix everything, because a lot of times your spouse isn't asking you for a solution. They're asking you to understand where they're coming from. So they don't always want you to fix it, especially men. Slow down, relax, calm down. And I think we've talked about this before, that it's always good to preface your conversation with what you want to happen. So if I need you to fix this, then okay, hey, I really need some advice on this. I really need some help with this.
For your opinion.
Or I don't really need you to solve this problem. I just need to talk it through. Can you just listen? What is it that you want them to do so that you're not frustrated and they're not frustrated? Do you want them to give you an answer? Do you want them to hear your opinion? Do you want them to give you feedback? Or do you just want them to be a sounding board?
So you can vent. Right?
Because at the end of the day, 99.9% of the answers you already have inside of you anyway, but you go to someone else because you want them to give you a scapegoat.
You want to blame it on somebody, like, well, that was your suggestion, bro. You the one came up with that crazy idea.
That part.
I wasn't trying to do that at all until I talked to you, right? But so in this communication things, there's a big difference between, like we say, listening, communicating, and the whole process, the whole engagement. Okay, sometimes listening can be the most loving thing that you can do. Just to listen, right, with open ears and a heart to understand. So if I have a heart to understand, that doesn't mean that I have been through the situation, that I understand the dynamics of it, but I'm here so that you can get this off of your chest, right? And so, but in that, I'm going to be engaged.
I felt like you were about to say
something. I was about to say something.
Inappropriate.
I was about to say something.
I felt like you were.
It was on the inside.
I felt like it was about to be real inappropriate.
Suppressed it. I suppressed that desire.
Yeah. Listening also means paying attention to what isn't being said. Again, the body language, the tone, the energy, the facial expressions. What are you doing? Sometimes the word "I'm fine" does not mean that you're fine. Okay. I'm good. It's probably not good. Oh, okay.
Right.
Probably not good.
Right.
Okay. So you need to know your spouse's language, so that when they say those, you're like, oh Lord, here we go, because you ain't good.
And healthy couples, learn to notice those signals and that how that spouse communicates genuinely. And when you know those signals and know how they're communicating, even when they begin to shut down, you can even address that in a loving way by saying, okay, do I need to give you some space? Or do we
Do I
need
need
to
to give you a
continue this
hug?
conversation? Do you need a hug? Do you need whatever, a back rub or whatever? But you learn their communication levels, and within in their face when they're shutting down, when things are starting to take a turn, not for the worse, but definitely not for the better.
Yeah.
When you see those signals, it's time for you to be proactive and do something about that. One of the biggest things that we've seen in healthy marriages is this: when people feel heard, they relax, let their guard down. Because most people, especially men are some of the most well-guarded institutions on earth.
Better than the bank.
Better than the bank, better than Fort Knox. I'm telling you, men are some of the most guarded institutions on earth, and probably for good reason. So I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with that, but when you feel safe and when you feel emotionally safe and heard, then you begin to let the guards down. And emotional safety, ladies and gentlemen, is where good communication takes root and begins to spring. This is springtime, begins to spring forward and begins to grow when you feel emotionally safe.
And when you feel emotionally safe, you don't have to yell, you don't have to, shut down, you don't have to, recoil, you don't have to do any of those things. You don't have to, come out with your claws out when you are safe. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you create safe environments. Okay, so love work for this week.
I heard a guy say, and I think this is very true. I'm going to use it someplace else. He said that poor screams, rich yells, and wealthy whispers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good stuff. I'm going to use it in a message. Y'all stay tuned. I promise you that. But now he was talking about economics, but when you have a poor mindset, a poor self-esteem, you scream stuff.
Yeah, or you feel poor because maybe you feel disenfranchised in the relationship.
And by the same token, when you feel rich, like you've achieved something, you want to showcase it to the world. That's why you drive this or do that or whatever, because you want other people to validate how you feel or validate within you that this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But he said wealthy people whisper because they want to keep it quiet as to who they are and what they do. I think that's good advice. The only reason why I said that because my wife was talking about you begin to yell and you begin to scream. So what attitude do you have? A poor attitude at this time that's prompting you to do this yelling and screaming?
Yeah.
All right. So on our love work this week, though, we want you to try something simple. One person talks for 2 minutes. Momento. Uno is one. Dos.
Yeah, you're
all right. But talks for 2 minutes about something that's on their mind. The other person just listens without interrupting, without correcting.
2 minutes is a long time.
Without fixing. Okay. You got to watch on your phone. You can set the timer. Right. Then you switch roles, and then what happens?
And then you're done with that one. Each person answers this question. What did I hear you say that matters to you?
Oh, you switched it up.
See, it's not matters to me. It's matters to you.
That's good.
Because sometimes understanding your spouse is the greatest gift you can give them. Do I understand what matters to you?
Right.
Not what I want. Because see, that's how we get love languages all jacked up. And people will be like, I know they love language. And it didn't work. Because you were trying to do to work with them and to give them what you wanted,
Right.
not what they wanted.
Good point. Good
Okay.
point.
So it only works if you give them what they want.
Mm.
Okay.
And normally, if you give a person what they want, they'll give you what you want most of the time. Just the way it is. I mean, it just is like that. All right. But our scripture anchor for this week is James 1:19, and it gives us tremendously great advice concerning relationships. And it says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." All right.
It's hard to come out. It's hard
yeah,
to come back from being angry.
yeah. Quick to listen, slow to speak, shut your mouth, and slow to becoming angry. And I think one of the keys to that is you have to know what pulls your trigger,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and avoid those kind of situations and avoid those conversations. You know, I don't mean avoidance as in we don't need to discuss why I feel this way. But I mean, if you're around a bunch of folk and they put you in a different frame of mind, you know my philosophy, why am I hanging with you?
That part.
Bro, move around.
And I think the thing that we have to understand is we have one mouth and two ears. Why? Because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. But we talk twice as much as we listen.
Sometimes 3 times as much.
So as we are looking at getting into this next week, this week, your job, your love work is to really sit down and have a really good conversation and really get to understand what your spouse really needs from you.
Mhm.
Next week, we're going to talk about repair.
Mhm.
Next week, we will be here. The next week, we go to St. Thomas.
Yeah,
We've been talking about this for a whole
Yeah,
year.
we'll be on the beach somewhere. I don't know if we're gonna. Well, we'll probably come live on the beach. Maybe.
Well, I don't know if we'll be there yet. We'll probably be live in some airport.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about repair next week, because one of the things that happens if we have spoken out of turn, if we've not listened, we can have some real breaches and real problems in our relationship. And so we've got to make sure that we do the work to repair. I think everybody has had that experience where you split your pants.
Mhm.
And you got to go in there and you got to sew it up. Otherwise, your britches are showing. And so we just want to make sure that we do that work and that we give you the tools to be able to don and to repair any places that are broken.
Because strong marriages know how to fix stuff when it gets broken. Best man you can get is somebody that can fix something.
I know, baby.
Shoot. All right. It's somebody that can fix something. So strong marriages need to be repaired and need to be worked on continuously. All right. But hey, if you keep doing the work, you'll keep learning each other, growing together, and your communication, which is constantly under construction, will be for the better and not for the worse. So ladies and gentlemen, until next week, next episode, keep building your relationship with faith, fun, and forever love.
See ya.
Doggy style.
Thank you for watching, and make sure that you join us on YouTube and our webpage, Marriage Encounters with Bill and Michelle at Weebly.com. And